Good afternoon, and welcome to our final day of the 5-day challenge on Overwhelm. So, I've had some lovely feedback from you all this morning. Keep it coming. I'd love to hear how you found it. And also, I've had lots of people asking me about which way? That way? That way? Maureen. That's Maureen, the cow. People have said, "Why have you got a cow in your back garden?" Well, my mum's 50th birthday, when we asked her what she wanted, if she wanted something special, and she wanted a plastic cow. So actually, I don't know if it is plastic, but whatever it is, it's heavy. And so my mum lives with me, and therefore Maureen is also now a permanent feature in our back garden. So yeah, so it's Maureen. Okay. So last day. So I just want to round up, and then I want to tell you what next, I suppose. The first thing I want to share with you, we'll talk about today, is this idea that when we go to tackle anything, whether it be around, achieving something, getting somewhere that we want to be, whatever that is, when we look too far ahead from where we are right now, the way I see it, it's like standing at the bottom of a mountain and looking up at the top, thinking, oh my goodness, I've got to get up there. And it isn't going to be easy. And how am I going to do it? And what if it rains? And what if I'm too exhausted? And all of this sort of stuff. And we make the mistake of being at the bottom of the mountain and looking up, and it gets really overwhelming. It's like, oh my goodness, we've got all that way to go, and how am I ever going to do it? When what we miss out on when we're doing that is that there's also a wonderful view right at the bottom of the mountain. There's also stuff to experience at the bottom of that mountain. And part way up and midway through, we've got an experience to be had at each and every stage that is just as valuable if we're present. So if we sit down halfway up that mountain and appreciate what we've already got and what we've already achieved, getting to the top feels much easier. And as I said, if you're wanting to get to the top, because we have this perceived idea that, oh, it's way better at the top. This place that we're not quite there yet. And we imagine that when we're there, everything's going to be amazing and wonderful. When actually, we don't know that. The only guarantee that we have is right now. We could be halfway up that mountain and the sun be shining and look out and the view be absolutely amazing. Then by the time we get to the top, it's foggy and we can't actually see anything. So what we thought we'd get at the top isn't our experience. And so the best way for us to get the most out of life is to allow ourselves to experience every single step along the way for what it is. If I think about my career and my business and things, I've got part way along something, halfway up a mountain, and decided I don't want to go in that direction anymore. And so I take a slight turn. And we can never preempt that. If someone had told me when I was younger that I was going to be a psychotherapist or work as a coach, I thought, no way. I wanted to maybe be a lawyer, solicitor, things that I thought I should be doing or should be seen to do. And actually, I couldn't be any happier in my job and my career and my business right now. But if I'd have been really set on having to reach that place that I decided in that moment, then I would have gone in a very different direction. So it's step by step, a step at a time. And again, people that want to work for themselves or want to achieve certain things or change career, for example, or whatever it is, and we see this end goal, but we think that until we've got there, we can't enjoy the experience along the way. And actually we can. And even more so, we may find that we go in a different direction. And the only way we can sort of follow that and follow our gut instinct and follow that path is taking it a step at a time. So I want you to remember, wherever you are on that mountain, whether you feel like you're right at the bottom, midway, or right near to the top, wherever you feel you are, there's a great experience to be had at whatever level And if I link that, say, for example, to my mental health, over the years, I felt like, oh, I want to get to the top of the mountain. And even within my own business, I want to run my own business and be successful at it and achieve X, Y, and Z. And it's at the top of the mountain. And I'd always think, oh, I won't get there probably because of my anxiety. So I have to wait at the bottom until it's gone. When actually what I started to realize over time, even with anxiety, I could start to make my way up. And it might feel slower. I might get part way up and have to stop. But actually, none of that matters. And one of the really defining moments for me in my journey with anxiety, and I talk about anxiety, for you, it'll be other things, it'll be different things. But for me, that was the most hindering thing for me, I would say, in my life at one stage. And so that's why I'm using this as an example. But for me, the biggest turning point was when I accepted that I may well end up back in hospital with anxiety because I don't know what the future holds. And because what I wanted a cast iron guarantee from somewhere or someone that if I did all of these right things, that I'd never end up back there, because I was fearful of it. I didn't understand it. It felt like hell. And yet exploring the 3 principles and everything that I now coach meant that, one, was quite freeing to accept that I don't know what the future holds and I can't ever say never, and nobody can tell me that. And interestingly, the more I accepted that I might end up back in hospital, the less likely it became, because it took a whole load of pressure off. Not only that, I now look back on my experience very differently. I see that I was still innately well even when I was in hospital. Even though I felt completely lost at the time, when I look back now, I know that it was only temporary. So even if I did, it's unlikely, but hey, who am I to say what's going to happen in the future? Even if I did, I'd survive. And again, that's quite freeing. To know that we face challenges, we face overwhelm, we face stress, and yet in and amongst all of it, we're okay. And we do our best. We do the best that we can in any given moment. And do you know what? That is enough. And yet for me, I spent so long telling myself that wasn't enough. I needed to avoid it at all costs. I need to make sure it didn't happen. I needed to almost mold myself into this perfect person that was never going to be like that again. And now what I do is I look back, and this sounds so cheesy, but I have nothing but compassion for that person that I was then, because that's what I needed. And I look back and I think, you weren't failing. You weren't terrible. You weren't a bad person. You were just really overwhelmed and just had no clue what was happening. And I'm just really grateful and appreciative that I know differently now. And that's why I do what I do, because I want everybody to know differently. I feel like sometimes, standing at the gates of primary schools, so excuse me, before your child goes in, can I just tell them this for 10 minutes and then tick the box and let them, because actually it's basic stuff, but we don't hear it. And we don't understand it. And therefore we get lost in our minds, in our heads. So something else I just wanted to mention, or to just share with you, I'm going to share my screen. So fingers crossed it works again. Let's have a look. Just bear with me 1 second. Just want to share an image with you. That's all. Let's have a look. So that should now be full screen, fingers crossed. So think about the language you use with yourself. These are some of the most common things I hear people say that I know is keeping them stuck. Until. I can't do this until. Or when I get to this stage, then I'll be successful. When I have a bigger house, then I'll be successful. Until then, I'm not happy. Until I sort my relationship out. Until. Well, until isn't given. I know some really sad, tragic stories of people that had plans, that had yearly plans, 5-year plans, 10-year plans for the future, and they never got given that. So rather than waiting until, how about we start to tell ourselves that actually we can start to achieve what we want right now? The only thing stopping us is us. The words I am. Sorry, that's my doggy. These indicate that we think we know everything there is to know about ourselves. We have a story around ourselves. We have an idea of who we are and define ourselves. And yet to me, when we say the words I am, it's almost like it's a given and it's a definite. Well, we don't work like that. Some days I am confident, other days I am not. So I am not one thing. I'm not ever one thing. Sometimes I am in a good mood, sometimes I'm not. So just be careful when you're saying what you are and what you're not, that you also acknowledge and appreciate that none of that's ever permanent. Same with I always, what I always do. And people say to me, I can't achieve this. And I say, I don't believe that's true. In fact, I know that's not true. Yeah, but when I do, and then I always do this, or I always stop. Or when I'm in a relationship, it always ends at 18 months, or I always, stories. Yes, you may have always, up until now, done that. And it's about shifting our dialogue within our minds, or recognizing when we use these things that they're not true and they're not a given. I should do this. I should not do this. We make decisions based around what we should and shouldn't do in any given moment, but that can change. What I think I should be doing right now might change in 10 minutes and I might think in a different way. So let's not take our thoughts, our stories, and our patterns so seriously. Let's not take them as truths. Let's just take them for what they are, which is patterns, which are stories. Even our beliefs are stories. Our beliefs are things that we think repetitively to the point that they then become our beliefs. Yeah, so let me come out of here. Stop sharing. I hope that worked. So, before we finish up, where do we go from here? So, as I said at the very beginning, I will do a prize draw for those that have watched all of the videos, and someone will win a coaching call with me. However, I am conscious that this week people have posted things and said things, and I haven't responded to everybody because this is an extra on top of all my work that I do, and I am quite busy. However, I like people to get the most out of the experience. So I've decided, again, for those of you that have watched all of the videos, and if you haven't watched them all, feel free to go back and watch them. It's not too late. And what I'm going to do is next Tuesday, I'm not 100% of the time yet. I might do a little poll in the group to see what's best time, whether it's daytime or evening. I'm going to do a live Zoom. Don't worry about the technical side of it. I'll explain it all to you, but literally it'll just be a place where we can get together live, and I'm going to do an hour-long Q&A. So I'm going to do and answer all of your questions. And even if you haven't got questions, you'll find those that are in my private group will tell you this, that you learn so much from other people's questions, sometimes even more than we learn from our own. So I want to give people that opportunity to spend that hour and for us to have a Q&A. That link will be sent to you via email. So if you haven't already, and I'll pop this again in the group, if you haven't already, then make sure you sign up for the email and you'll get the invite for Tuesday of next week, and we'll do a Q&A and I'll answer as many of your questions as I possibly can in an hour to hopefully consolidate your learning. So thank you so much for joining me. As I said, in the last video, I really appreciate it. It's so nice not to just talk to myself and to have people there. Really, really do appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. I just want you to know that. I will also do the prize draw live on the Q&A as well. But if you can't make the Q&A and you're still someone that's watched the videos, you'll still be put in and I'll let you know. But I'll do that live. And also, I've asked for feedback in the group and I'd love it. But what I'll do is on an email or in the group, I'll put a post, and I would really, really appreciate it if you have found it useful, is to go on my Facebook page and to just give me a review of how you found it. I will do these challenges again. I'm not sure when the next one will be, but I will do one again at some point. So it'd be nice for me to be able at that time to say, look, here's what everybody said that did it last time. So I would appreciate that. I think that's everything. Someone's put, how would you confront the belief of never being good enough? Like any other belief, Belief is a thought. Thoughts are not true. We will have days where we feel we're not good enough. I have days where I look in the mirror and I think, God, I'm ugly. Look at this, look at that. When my state of mind's lower, and I think, this looks shit. My teeth, I've got a crooked tooth at the bottom. And I'll pick out all the things that I don't like. Other days, I look in the mirror and I think, do you know what? I don't look half bad for 41. I'm happy. It just depends on my state of mind. So we're always going to be confronting these beliefs and thoughts because they're always going to pop up. I've explored these principles for however long. I still have days where I feel like I'm not good enough. That's my cat meowing. Where I feel like I'm not good enough and I have negative thought. We're never going to get rid of that, but it's learning to just see it for what it is, which is a load of rubbish. There it is, Pussycat. I think it's the first time the cat's appeared, is it? Hello, let's say hello. My big tigers. So I'm going to leave it there. And as I say, I'll pop the next stages in the group so that you'll know. I know it cries to get out because it's actually a house cat, but when they go out, they're frightened and they don't really want to come straight back in. They've got a massive big cage thing outside where they can get fresh air. But you think you want to go on an adventure, don't you? But you don't really. Okay, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you taking the time and joining me. And I've really enjoyed it. So thank you. Bye for now. Mwah.